So was the Frago that was in force on April 8th in effect on April 14th also?
Correct. No change to enemy sit, no change to task organization. We're now operating in platoon size elements.
And so what would the order have been to Lima 3 in going to the crack house to establish a OP?
We want an observation on East End because along here you tend to get IEDs because these are major roads going into Camp Usaba, now Camp Gannon, for resupply. So we have to have a level of MSR security on there. Number two, the crack house is definitely a place where the enemy has been known to operate. So we want to have ability to collect on it, and ambush it and snipe it as well. That there, us being on route train, trying to have observation on checkpoint 69, allowed the enemy to. This is what we learned too: is that once you're compromised, there's active. Obviously, we know there's active compromise and passive compromise, but instead of being passively compromised, they were actively compromised.
And what do you mean by being actively compromised?
Actively compromised that the insurgency saw that we were there, saw that we weren't moving, and definitely wanted to fight us that day because we've been compromised before in OPs, and we've used different positions before, and it just so happens that 69. The enemy knows that it was general interest to us, so naturally they want to go where we are. So they brought the fight right onto us. It just happened to be during the same time that battalion was, Blade 6 and the security from Kilo happened to be in that area as well.
And in fact, they had a booby trap on the top of the crack house.
Correct.
Which caused some injuries.
Right. I believe Lance Corporal Roshak
right.
Took a 2x4 to the neck as an injury, so he got medevaced. Since that IED went off, we also had snipers, in the vicinity, and they started taking contact, and that was a real bind because 3rd Platoon was recovering and extracting stay under contact.
And that was Corporal Belmont's fire team.
Correct.
Which was actually operating independently of the rest of Lima 3 by at least a couple of hundred meters.
Right. What Lima 3 liked to do at times was put small teams in vicinity, having a good avenue, having a good viz on a good avenue of approach or whatnot, especially if it's the crack. Yeah, here's the crack house here, or maybe on the train station or whatnot. The key thing was having viz over here. Well, when he'd do that, he'd also, that allowed him to break off, leave a small team there, but have the rest of his platoon patrol in and around the area, satelliting. Small numbers, lots of observation, quickly and effectively can mass, depending on the level of contact that you get.
And by the 14th, was there any major change in the effects that the Fallujah operation was having in your area of operations, or is it generally the same?
Truly the same. Their escalation definitely affected our escalation. So as they escalated, we escalated. It seemed like Zerkawi wanted to put a big front, and apparently, I guess, reading some of the intel reports as well, Zerkawi did have an interest in the Syrian border. So he sent some of his lieutenants out there to manage, operations here. Another advantage of what the Moos wanted to do is that by having multiple offensives going on in different parts of the AL, it could look like a picture that, with enough firepower, it would make a division look like it was spread thin or whatnot. Because it's like, okay, we got a firefight going on here in Al-Qam, we also got a firefight that's going on in Fallujah, we got a firefight that's going on in Ramadi. All seem like they're pretty significant. What do we, allocate our resources?
So do you think that information operations, perception was an important part of the enemy intent?
Definitely, because I'll tell you what, especially with perception and IO, up until the 19th, the local populace was very standoffish. The security forces didn't want to patrol with us. They kind of just sat there and watched everything occur. And like after the 8th to the 14th, you'd walk down the street and the kid would wave at a Marine. Parents would snag him right in or snatch him right in or even pop the kid. The Moos did not want anyone associating with us at all. And if you did, as a civilian, chances are someone was going to come into your house and do something pretty drastic to you. So they definitely had that IO piece going. And I think the populace definitely thought that, the Moos had the upper hand, because as soon as we put the anvil on them, their posture changed. You always knew when the enemy was around, because the population, their treatment, their attitude towards you, their posture would adversely change.
So it would be fair to say that the enemy intent could be characterized as separating civilians from the Marines.
Correct. The thing the enemy has, they used it by fear, by such. They knew that if the civilian populace wouldn't help us out by our standards and our rules or whatnot and our ethics, we're not going to go in and pull someone out or kill an innocent Iraqi or kill an innocent civilian. We're not going to take their kids away or anything like that.
So the enemy was using the Marines' rules of engagement against them.
Definitely. The enemy knows that if they don't get support, the criminals will just do it because there's money involved. So they'll kill someone or they'll torture someone bad enough. And the foreign fighters will, they're going under the guise of Allah, that if you support the infidels, if you choose not to help the cause, then you're one with the infidels, so therefore you deserve to die. That's just their extremist mindset. So in both cases, they can do it. In an environment where death has been rampant over the last 2 decades, death is an acceptable course of action, in that kind of environment.